tuned in to a live special of Right Hand, Left Hand with Leah Marche from Radio Phoenix, a weekly show of culture, conversation, and teen rose. This episode celebrates 30 years of Public Enemy's Fear of a Black Planet with some hip-hop culturists as my guests. We'll talk the album, what is going on as of late with the iconic group, and check in with some current state of affairs. We'll get started right after this opening segment. Right Hand, Left Hand, the show that knocks you out and wakes you up with love.
Wake up, wake up, wake up. Up you wake, up you wake, up you wake, up you wake.
Finally rectify, hey, won't be swept aside, oh, won't be swept aside, oh, won't be swept aside, no, won't be swept aside, no, finally rectify, hey, finally rectify, hey, finally rectify, hey, finally rectify, hey, won't be swept aside, no, won't be swept aside, no, won't be swept aside, no, won't be swept aside. My God, I start EBT cars, contract jobs, vehicle problems, abject loss, city apartments, Equifax, predators, garbage, all lost count, collectors are blocked, overdrive, penalties harsh, can't get fly, think I felt wash, restaurant, I'll just get water, want a secret, think of my life, my revenge like shit, so-called friends out of blind sight, you were scary, but I'm godlike, started hitting gym, feeling alright, got a little trim, nigga, bonsai, swallow my pride, supposed to be humble, boy, but I feel rectified, yeah, I feel rectified, yeah, I feel rectified, yeah, I feel rectified, yeah, no more swept aside, no more swept aside, no more swept aside, no more swept aside, no, finally rectified, yeah, I feel rectified, yeah, I feel rectified, yeah, I feel rectified, yeah, no more swept aside, no more swept aside, no more swept aside, no more swept aside, no more swept aside. Every song given, never drop a jewel, everything connected, that's the common rule. Out in London, K9 told me best way to kill a branch is to find a root. Up my game and going around the world. What's the name to an astronomer? Fuck a game, we're like a carnival. Take more of the nation, no stopping us. All of that talk about murdering brothers, diversions of boys that get started me. Give the man a gun, he can rob a bank, give the man a bank, he can rob the world. Now this is currency. Unless it's a new day, send tactics a coup day. Is this oranges and new black? Y'all niggas is cool say. Philistines kill me, I just keep billing till I breach ceilings, Phoenix scene tripping. Couldn't stand to see a nigga weighing up the scenes, kill him. I just keep giving, ungrateful little could be a D-livers, annoying in it. So maybe I'll use dummies, Lloyd Christmas. Every blade I'ma fall upon, till I die and the race towards respect. Every stage is an Autobahn, till I get X. Nah, I ain't about to be another casualty amount. All this controversy and calamity about peeking out my window of my family on the couch. By any means, I'm rectified, yeah. I feel rectified, yeah. I feel rectified, yeah. I feel rectified, yeah. No more swept aside, no more swept aside, no more swept aside, no more swept aside, no. Finally rectified, yeah. I feel rectified, yeah. I feel rectified, yeah. I feel rectified, yeah. No more swept aside, no, 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 no more swept aside. I was tired of just surviving. Now I'm looking at the tide like Poseidon. Name more, but just tried it. Why that's fine, I'ma dive in. 2019, about to make a splash. Nearly died back in 2016. Only drip I knew was in a stadium bag. Out in air, bear, about to take them back. Was so many social status, stratifying industry. People ignore my attempts to discuss business. So many reads could form a jazz band full of fuck niggas. You damn right, I'm jaded, nigga. I done told you. We done burn bridge around here, but it's something we can both use. We charge all at the toll for free game. Yeah. Yeah, finally rectified, yeah, finally rectified, yeah, no more swept aside, no, 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 finally rectified, yeah, finally rectified, yeah, finally rectified, yeah, finally rectified, yeah, no more swept aside, no, 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 no more swept aside.
All right. We still there, everyone? Checking in, checking in.
Yeah.
Okay. That might have been on a delay. I think
Peace.
that was a delay. But we will definitely give everyone the info where they can continue to check that video out. Congratulations, Rocky.
Thank you.
That
I
was
appreciate
powerful.
it.
Can we get a little background on what we just saw?
So that was rectified off my project with DJ Green Lantern called Outbreak. Basically, I just wanted to create a metaphor for my tenure in, independent music and, just all the things I'd gone through in order to, still on my journey, and just being such a huge fan of Denzel and his his impact on Black cinema and things like that. I wanted to do something in the light of the Book of Eli because I felt that thematically it was in line with my vision for the song.
Right.
Yeah,
So,
I picked up that Book of Eli reference and the journey on that. So I was just curious to understand a little more what we were seeing.
yeah. So just
When did you record that?
oddly enough, I'm sorry.
When did you record that?
Oh man, about mid last year. So obviously did not expect things to take the turn it has in the past few months. So that is coincidental but timely, I suppose. So
Yeah,
yeah.
you're thinking ahead. You had that foresight.
Yeah.
Very good. Now, did I see
But yeah,
in that
it
video?
was a lot. One more time.
It was True in that video?
He sure was at the very end.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so shout out to True. He's on the line, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was writing the Bible out.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, I had interrupted you. So go ahead and what were you going to say more about the video?
Oh no, it was just a labor of love, just all the scouting and just storyboarding everything in order to make it feel right and just kind of pay proper homage to that particular film. But it's been well received thus far, so it's an honor, especially since it's something out of Arizona and the avenues that it's finding itself in right now. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, if anybody feels like checking it out, just look up Tirade Rectified, tell your friends.
All right. Well, let me just make a formal introduction. So this is a special show of Right Hand, Left Hand. I have not done this before, but we are in the age where Zoom is the thing now. So broadcasting from Phoenix, Arizona. I normally do this from Phoenix Center for the Arts in downtown Phoenix, and that is shut down along with everything else. But I have joining with me 4 individuals who are based here in the Valley of the Sun. True Father Allah or True Sankofa? What shall I call you?
Father True Sankofa True is good.
Okay, Sankofa True. You'll see on the screen that it's going to say Terrence Finney, but we will call him Sankofa True. Rocky Tirade, who you saw the video from. We have Arian Nicole and Mr. Roy Tatum. So all of these individuals, very engaging, provoking in their perspectives, and especially when it comes to the culture of hip hop. So I'm glad that you took some time out of your day. I know a lot of things going on. So kind of before we even move on, I'd just like you to give some brief introductions, like where you're from, what's your passion, current projects that you're working on.
I'll go first. I go by coming in the name of True Father. Was born in Jackson, Mississippi. Was raised here. Just basically, I write for the AZ Informant. I've been an MC / hip hop journalist for like 30 years because Fear of a Black Planet is what got me to hip hop. That's the album that sparked everything. You know what I'm saying? So I would just say like for 30 years. And as far as what I'm working on, off and on, music, a book. But I'm just I'm a big fan of the culture. I'm just trying to provide for the culture what the culture provided for me, and that was like a sense of identity and the foundation.
Very good. Miss Erin Nicole. Let's get your sound up. Hold on. We're gonna unmute you. Start over there. There we go.
Okay, now y'all can hear me. I was just talking. All right. So yes, my name is Erin Nicole. I was born in Peoria, Illinois. Then moved to Flint, Michigan later, and then transplanted down here to Phoenix, AZ. I'm a hip hop head, lyricist, producer. I just love music, and I'm definitely an advocate for the culture. Working with numerous organizations and working with aspiring artists as well. So that's me in a nutshell.
All right.
Our next person, we didn't get formal from you, Rocky. Go ahead and give us your rundown.
Oh, yeah. So my name is Rocky Tirade, however you want to call me. I'm originally from California, since everybody's given their place of origin. San Diego, moved out here from LA. But I'm a Phoenician MC. So I didn't know that you were from Jackson. My dad's from Jackson, Mississippi originally, so that's dope. Okay. It's a MC, former podcast host, and I just try to keep as many irons in the fire, but primarily I am an MC. But currently moving my Outbreak project with DJ Green Lantern, like I was saying earlier, that's where the Rectified project is from. But I'm just trying to contribute to the culture that I love so much, that we all love so much. So.
And that brings us to Roy.
Roy Tatum, here in Arizona, originally from Virginia Beach, Virginia. And I'll say one thing that is special to me about Fear of a Black Planet is that in 1990, Public Enemy came down to Virginia Beach. That's where Brothers Gonna Work It Out was recorded, in Virginia Beach. And so, nice. Yeah, a lot of history with Public Enemy in Virginia Beach, around the Greek Fest riots that took place in Virginia Beach in '89. And so when you hear that Fight the Power, even though it came out before, Fight the Power came out before the Greek Fest riots, you still hear that 1989, the number, Another Summer. So that was right at the tail end of the summer of '89. So if you can YouTube it, Greek Fest, Virginia, 1989, and you'll see the police pretty much assaulting, abusing black college students in flip flops and board shorts and tank tops and bikini. I mean, it was horrific. And so that incident actually thrusted me into my own political awareness and political activism against police brutality. And so it was so Public Enemy is right in the middle of that core of my life. And I remember meeting Chuck D for the first time, and I like to cry because it was, I mean, this man lyrically inspired me, influenced me, pushed me to get involved politically. So, and I've been able to take that to quite a few levels. So we'll probably talk about that.
Well, yeah, and you are the president of the East Valley NAACP,
Correct.
A political consultant, and you are also a delegate, Bernie Sanders delegate, right?
Correct. Running for delegate to the DNC to represent Senator Bernie Sanders at the 2020 convention.
Wow. All right. Well, we got some good people here on. They'll be able to give us some insight. So again, thank you all for being here. So I have this question. This is a question presented to me by a writer also based in Phoenix by the name of Devon Sanders. He's with the FIYAH magazine. And he had asked this question: if you could create a mixtape that guarantees your kids will fall in love with hip hop, but you could only get 7 tracks, what would be on that mixtape? Now, you don't have to do all 7 or whatever, but in terms of what we're talking about right now at Public Enemy, what tracks of Public Enemy would you say need to be on that mixtape?
Man, I'm just gonna go off and say Fight the Power. That's because, you know, me being a 90s kid or what have you, literally I was talking about this earlier, my first memory, that the furthest back I can go is watching the Fight the Power video. Had to be like 3. I obviously didn't understand what they were talking about, but you know, it's the energy, it's just something about its presence that it captivated me, obviously, because I can still recall it to this day. And once I was able to fully grasp the subject matter, it just made me love this culture even more. Like, Public Enemy they're invaluable. There's no way that you can't place at least one of their records in that top 7 in order to introduce it to, you know, the upcoming generation. They've influenced people like your Kendricks and, you know, anybody that's considered politically aware in hip hop right now can definitely trace themselves back to that.
Indeed. You know, Fight the Power, I agree with that one because, you know, that's the song that grabbed me. You know, my sister, I was always going to my sister's room, listening to her tapes when she was gone. She had all the classics from Pete Rock and CL Smooth, Tribe Called Quest, Cool J and all that. But, you know, Fight the Power was like the main one. That's the song that really got me into hip hop, because before that I was on my Bell Biv DeVoe, Bobby Brown, New Jack Swing thing. But that song just resonated.
Yeah.
And it spoke to me, you know what I'm saying? Because like I always thought like hip hop was kind of corny, it wasn't for me. All this braggadocio, you know, thing going on with like the B-boys and whatnot. But when I heard, you know, Fight the Power, you know what I'm saying, that reminded me of like what a man is, because that reminded me of my father, because my father was a serious individual. You understand what I'm saying? So that was the first time I could relate to something in hip hop. And so like, you know, when I heard that song, I was like, I wanted to get into it, and I knew I had to study. I knew I had to go back and like listen to the Public Enemy albums that came out before that, and like, you know, start watching Yo MTV Raps and Pump It Up with D Barnes and everything. But Rocky already mentioned Fight the Power, so another one that I would mention, and to keep it fair for Black Planet, the other one I would mention is, man, I'm just gonna name a couple. First of all, the title track. You know, Chuck D always talks about he condensed, you know, Francis Cress Wilson's ISIS papers into an album. And you know, when I first heard that in '89, I didn't quite get it. Kind of like Rocky was talking about Fight the Power, you didn't understand everything that was going on. But you know, I understood like the very basics of it, as far as like, you know, dominant genes and recessive genes. But then when I was in high school, in 90, I want to say like 92. And we were in a science class and we were going over the puny and dominant and recessive genes. I was like, oh, So basically, they teach the same things that like a lot of hip hop artists teach. We talk about like the original man and whatnot. But other than that, you know, a very important song I would say on that mixtape would have to be. Do we have to keep it Fear of a Black Planet?
Oh no, I was just saying.
Okay.
Talking about Public Enemy as a group.
Okay, well, I'm gonna keep it real brief with just two more. I'm gonna keep it real brief with just two more. Brother's Gonna Work It Out, like my man said. You know, when Chuck D talks about in '95, you'll twist to this as you raise your fist to the music. He started that whole thing with like, you know, brothers like Brother Jay talking about 1995 is coming, and Ice Cube was like 1995, Elijah's alive. And if you look back, see that the Million Man March took place in 1995.
Million Man March, yes,
yeah.
sir.
A lot of people didn't get that, but it was building to that, and hip hop was part of that movement. Chuck D started that. That was a very monumental event that took place in our lifetime that a lot of people try to underplay. 1 million black men gathered in Washington, D.C., and, you know, atone, you know what I'm saying? And many took it seriously, and it changed a lot of people's lives, like the music changed our lives. A lot of people got out of prison, went to D.C., and that shows the power of hip hop. You know what I'm saying? And the last song that I would say would have to be Black Steel in the Hour of the Chaos, because it has the greatest line ever in hip hop.
You Lisa up, True.
Yeah, it's good. No, it's good.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll start again. I got a letter from the government the other day. I opened and read it. Said they were suckers. They wanted me for the army or whatever. A picture of me giving a damn. I said never. And I feel like that, along with Fight the Power, represents hip hop at its best, because it's like, you know, anti-establishment, rebellious, and I just feel like there was a certain way black people should be in this country, and you know, Public Enemy reflected that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we got
yes, absolutely.
We got MLK shoved down our throats when we was in elementary school. As I got older, I would learn about the real MLK that they didn't tell us about. But you know, when I saw Do the Right Thing that came out before Fear of Black Planet, and I saw the picture of Malcolm Martin, I was like, who's this other guy? How come I don't know about him? You know what I'm saying? So, you know, Public Enemy introduced me to that. And, you know, it's a mixture of Do the Right Thing, Fear of a Black Planet, and the autobiography of Malcolm X that changed my life in those late 80s, early 90s.
Thanks, Drew. At least something for you. Or Arian?
Yeah, so I was, you know, a little bit above a toddler, like when this came out, right?
Wow.
But no, but it did impact me. Fight the Power, I would definitely say. And then honestly, 911 is a joke, because when that record came out, like I was young, I don't know, I must have been like 6 or 7 or something like that, but we used to walk up to the corner store, and I actually did that. I called the police on the payphone because of that song, and I said, y'all are joking. Like that, you know, impacted me, because that song was like a hit in my mind. We used to just run around saying 911 is a joke every time they roll by or anything like that. So definitely Fear of a Black Planet, Fight the Power, and 911 is a joke, because I remember that, like, you know, being impacted by that song.
Yeah, you had posted earlier.
Yeah, Public Enemy made it dope just to be informed. You know, like for me, for a lot of us, they're just so impactful because of that, because they took melody and education and self-awareness and being politically aware and just put that all on wax. It's
And what's also great about it.
Let me jump in real quick, because I think this conversation will be amazing. But I would say for my song, it would have to be, first and foremost, my favorite Public Enemy song is Rebel Without a Pause. But when you slow it down, it's Rebel Without a Pause, meaning that you will have to continue to rebel without stopping on one level or another. You know what I'm saying? So when you understand what the system is, what the government is, what the world that we live in, the world that we were born into, you will have to be in a state of constant rebellion. So Rebel Without a Pause sets the tone to me. And if I could just tell a quick story, 1988, I saw Public Enemy live in concert. And what that means is, what y'all don't understand is, my mother took me to my first Public Enemy concert. My mother, and I'm talking about my mother is church going every Sunday, Wednesday, choir rehearsal. And I don't know what it was or what I did to get her or convince her to go, but she, bought 2 tickets. I'm in the crowd, this is where concert had the open area where you could go, and be on in front of the stage in the crowd area, and seats on the side. My mother went and got a seat on the side and just sat there. But let me tell you who was on this lineup. It was Stetsasonic, EPMD, Eric B. and Rakim, Big Daddy Kane, MC Light, and Public Enemy. And my mother became an MC Light fan. She was like, I don't know about all that other stuff, but I like that MC Light girl. So to me, like, that created another bond of, because we were, as my man said, we had Martin Luther King shoved down our throat. A lot of us had the safe leaders, quote unquote, picked out for us to follow. But Chuck D, and even Stetsasonic, some of these other MCs, Big Daddy Kane, were all kicking knowledge. A lot of people were kicking knowledge, talking about the Asiatic black man, Assalamu alaikum, and spitting, wisdom. A lot out of the Nation of Islam, a lot out of the 5% Nation. And KRS-One was one that was bringing the Bible, into lyrics. So there was a huge spiritual level of spirituality in hip hop in its infant form. So I would say Rebel Without a Pause. My man Gate got Black Still in the Hour of Chaos, but I'm gonna also go to Welcome to the Terror Dome, because Welcome to the Terror, like, if I'm working out, like, Welcome to the Terror Dome, I gotta hear Welcome to the Terror Dome in a workout. When I can't go no more, if Welcome to the Terror Dome is on, I'll find that extra energy. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
88 to 92 is what we call the golden age of hip hop, and it's kind of like the new Star Wars trilogy, where there was like an awakening with a lot of us. The things that Ariane said, Rocky, my man Roy said, everything, you hear that a lot when it comes to that era. How like it politicized a lot of people. And help start their work in activism and whatnot. That was like the seed. You understand what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to Public Enemy, a lot of people say these same things, So like, that was a golden age where like people were awakening and were getting an enhanced sense of racial pride, And 92 came, and the Chronic dropped, and everything changed.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Yep.
It's a beautiful time.
Got a good mixtape there. Good mixtape. I was trying to think of the question I was going to ask next. I had it on the tip of my tongue.
I just want to say real quick, hey Roy, my mother took me to my first Public Enemy concert as well. My first concert, period.
Wow.
And I just wanted to, first hip hop concert. And I just wanted to share the lineup. It was called the Greatest Rap Tour of All Time. I still remember this. It was Son of Berserk, Leaders of the New School, Son of Berserk, Leaders of the New School, Tribe Called Quest, Oaktown 357, MC Light, DJ Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Naughty by Nature.
DJ Jeff and the Fresh Prince was on mine too. I'm sorry, go ahead.
DJ Jeff and the Fresh Prince, Naughty by Nature, Queen Latifah, Kid and Play, Ghetto Boys, and Public Enemy. I still remember that card. And I don't remember the card like a year ago.
Wow, yeah. Wow.
See, that was hip hop because you got all the elements. It wasn't just like gangster, everything. You know what I'm saying? Because Ghetto Boys, this was in the South, Jackson, Mississippi. So Ghetto Boys got the biggest pop.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
They need to all come. They just need to come and do that again, right? They still here. Put a lineup like that again together.
Well, the best concert ever, if we can go here, the best live performer I've ever seen in my life is Busta Rhymes.
Oh yeah, Busta Rhymes is one of the illest performers I've ever seen in my life. Like, period, hands down. There should be like the number 2 should be blank, just out of respect.
Yeah, Busta, man, the best live show I've ever seen in my life.
Skinny Buster, Dreadlock Buster.
Yeah. Skinny Buster.
Yeah.
Well, talking about this album again, Fear of a Black Planet. So this is the third album from the group, right? And and hitting just as good as the first two. And it's usually not the case that a group or an artist can be consistent. And so I would say for Public Enemy that they have been consistent. It's 14 albums now, studio albums, and they hold it down being the same, spreading that message.
As far as consistency is definitely agree.
Well, the issues have been consistent. So,
Right.
Unfortunately enough, yeah.
Society has laid the groundwork for Chuck and Griff to do and Flavor to lay the commentary. So we've been able to been able to play a soundtrack. They've been the soundtrack to a lot of our lives and our social condition. Whether it's Rodney King, whether it's Virginia Beach Greek Fest riots, or whether it's Trump getting elected to the presidency. So they've been able to consistently put out material. And man, I'm gonna tell you that Ward 33 and the Third too. It's not really a song, but it's probably one of the best tracks on Fear of a Black Planet. Ward 33 and the Third, it's like a sermon, because one, it's the beat with clips from Minister Farrakhan on it. And it goes so hard because Minister Farrakhan's talking about the real battle of challenging white supremacy throughout the whole track. And if you're not listening, you miss it. So Ward 33 and the Third, it's got a little Masonic reference if you understand, some of that. So Chuck is taking it to a whole nother level and talking to a whole nother group of people with that.
See, and I remember listening over that album at that time, and my ears were so they still are, but they were much more prone to hearing every detail, like all the lyricism and things like that. And you see when you listen to that album how far we've gotten from that, where we even had the patience to pick up all of that knowledge. I was listening to even the difference of the mix, and everything, from that time till now. And it's like, wow, man, they were dropping so much in our ears, and we just don't understand how much that contributed to the culture of consciousness. Where I remember my mother, she used to sell daiquiris and things right out of our living room, and that's what we grew up to. That was our soundtrack. Everybody from the projects would come and buy that, from us, and they knew us for the, Black Planet and the Eric B. and Rakim soundtrack just bumping, and that really affected me. And possibly even our decision, to get involved. My mother joined the Nation, but now I see that all the things she was listening to, kind of contributed to that consciousness. So we just don't understand the power of the word, like True was saying, to get us involved or make it politicize us, make us aware of what's happening in the totally different states, like Brother was mentioning, from Florida and things like that. So I just wanted to drop that, man, they're just dropping it. Will our youth be able to absorb that same type of dialogue in that way today?
Yeah, and they were superb at the interludes and just those short tracks, right? Whether it was the DJ playing the beat or having the different samples that were going in there, but they didn't need to have a whole lot of minutes to pack in, the message. They got right to it. So I always appreciate that as well.
I'll talk about Burn Hollywood Burn.
I was waiting for somebody to bring that up.
Yeah. When you want to track with Chuck D, usually everybody comes with their best, and that was a hard track. Anti-Nigga Machine, Paris was up in the video.
But Burn Hollywood Burn, stay on that, because you got Kane and Ice Cube on the track. That was historic, because nobody had heard nothing from Ice Cube since NW, for NWA, he went solo, so that was already beef there. So we didn't hear from Ice Cube politically until we hit that burn, really on that Burn Hollywood Burn.
There was the Raising Hell remix of Run DMC, Ice Cube and Chuck D. But the funny thing about Burn Hollywood Burn, they was talking about, Driving Miss Daisy, and then like what was it, a year ago we had like the green car or whatever with the dude who used to rap who was
the Green Book.
Yeah, the Green
Book.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like 30 years later, like, it's still the same thing. And it's like, for me, when I got into hip hop, I was like, yo, what's gonna work it out? We about to do something. We about to change this world. And I feel like, I just like to ask you guys, like when you watch Fight the Power, you see all those people at the block party in the video. Do you think they're still part of the movement, hip hop and listening and whatnot? Or because I know a lot of people who they just kind of like, they kind of went to the wayside as far as like loving hip hop and just stopped listening to it, because it kind of changed, like, in the 90s, like after Apocalypse 91, that was like the last hurrah. 91, I would say. But when I watch the Power, I'd be like, what are these people doing now? Are they still like into Public Enemy? Do they listen to any of the new guys like, Dead Prez to carry that torch? But I was just, as far as your journey in hip hop, because 88 to 92, Public Enemy was #1 for Bullet. Can we agree? They were like at the top of the mountain when it came to the golden age. And that changed like, in 92 pretty much. And the people, your peers and who you came up with hip hop, did they stay the course as far as like, what was hot in 88 to 92, or did they kind of like adopt other trends and whatnot? Because I saw like a lot of change where nobody was trying to hear that stuff no more, and it was just party and bullshit.
From what I know, we jumped, or a lot of my older children, they jumped straight into NWA. After that, I remember that wave. I think we had a little bit of crisscross first or something like that, and then we jumped into NWA and the West Coast. I seen that happen, and then I think after that it was pretty much purged for the political. But me, I remember listening to autobiography of Mr. Chuck. Like I used to bang that in my headphones at middle school. Like I probably was the only one ever listening to like Chuck D and all the way to high school. I love that album. So yeah, I think we transitioned from that to gangsta rap.
I remember being in high school getting joked because I was listening to that conscious stuff and everybody was wearing their dickies, had their cornrows, and was like, what is you listening to? I come to school, Professor X and Professor Griff tapes. They're like, what is this?
X-Clan, right. I mean, let me say this. We used to have the ciphers, and there was always some consciousness, I'm a little older, but consciousness was the way to go. Because whether you was on Tribe, De La Soul, Queen Latifah, Native Tongue, Jungle Brothers, Brand Nubian, KRS, BDP, Public Enemy, it was something about uplift that you were about. You know what I'm saying? We could rap, we could do NWA, but man, we wasn't from Compton. We were father sing from Compton, So, but it was also about it was about the knowledge, and so it was the style. The African medallions, we were doing the African medallions. The girls were wearing the gold trunk earrings, right? And just on some. Cats was reading Final Call newspapers and Message to the Black Man and
Rocking Cross Colors.
Rocking Cross Colors. Dr. Franz Cress Welsing book was out. And so people was trying to bring like, hey, here's the root to where they got this from. There was some 5% brothers that would be around with the lessons, and kick the mathematics and all of that was happening at our level with the youth. And man, I think we just we were getting too intelligent. Hell, I started incorporating some of that stuff in my schoolwork. I started getting A's because the teacher couldn't argue with me. The teacher couldn't argue with me after I read the autobiography of Malcolm X, because they didn't read it, you know. And Malcolm was going hard, and so to be able to incorporate whether it was hip hop, something from because KRS could give you a litany of things, and you looking it up. Chuck was giving you things you could look it up, you know, and it was like, oh wow, this is right here, and all you had to do was look it up. We didn't have the internet then, so you had to get the books.
But the beautiful thing about back then, like all the Public Enemy albums, they had all the liner notes. You would open up a tape and you have to unfold this big ass paper like a map. And what was beautiful about for me getting into hip hop, they have something called the Extra Strength Posse, where I have all these lists of names. I'm like, okay, I gotta listen to him. I gotta listen to him. Like all the artists you were mentioning. So that's what helped me get into hip hop, because they taught you about hip hop culture as well. It just wasn't about Public Enemy. It was like, you gotta listen to Brand Nubian, you gotta listen to X-Clan, you gotta listen to all these guys, you know?
X-Clan, yeah.
Shabazz, you know, all that good stuff, man. And even before Wu Wear, you know, they had the Asiatic clothing in the liner notes as well.
Oh,
but,
man,
but to talk about Ice Cube, because we were talking about Burn Hollywood Burn, man, like there was like a lot going on that time where Griff got kicked out of the group before the album came out, right? And so it's funny because now, 30 years later, close to the anniversary, Flavor Flav gets kicked out the group, right? And the thing about it was like the first single was 911 is a Joke. Serious group like Public Enemy had Flavor Flav as the first single. And like, I had a friend one time who said, you know, we talk about Flavor Flav's position in the group. And he said if Flavor Flav wasn't with the group, he didn't think it would work. And if you think about it, that 911 is a Joke was the first single to Fear of a Black Planet, which was like Public Enemy's biggest selling album. So Flavor Flav did play a part in bringing others into
raising the awareness, right?
You know,
because even that was a video on like Yo MTV Raps.
Go ahead, Rock.
Oh, was that Rock?
No, I was just saying. I feel like I'm delayed a little bit, so apologies if I speak over some of y'all. But I was just agreeing and saying that yeah, he made it a little more palatable for the general consumer, aka white America. But you know, it's like putting medicine and nutrition inside of like your breakfast or something. Like he did contribute heavily to the dissemination of Public Enemy's work. So I agree.
Well, we can get back to more time. Well, let's talk about.
I'm sorry. But before you move on, I wanted to agree about the Burn Hollywood Burn. My favorite usage of that song was actually in Bamboozled, which was wildly foretelling at the time, because everything that Spike had talked about in that movie is literally occurring today. Like nail on the head. And I feel that Burn Hollywood Burn was best used on the score of that movie. And it's unfortunately a timeless record today still.
So yeah, let's talk about this recent breakup, or not a breakup. I know, Rocky, you have posted something and I was on your thread there.
No.
I would say I was a little disappointed. I was a little disappointed that they had to go that route.
What'd you say?
I said I felt like I was a little disappointed that they had to go that route.
And I don't even know, it just doesn't even sound right? Like,
no.
They tried to do something, well, they just tried to cover over something. And I'm like, that doesn't even, I don't understand how that can work. Like, if you're going to do a hoax, there's a whole plethora of hoaxes that you can do to publicize this album, if that's what it's all about. But Chuck D had did an exclusive interview with the Black Press. And, you know, he basically said it was a hoax, but he also highlighted doing a graphic novel. So I want to show you some of the images.
But can I make a point on that real quick?
Oh, yeah.
Because Chuck also said rappers got to get killed to get attention. Now, to me, he hit the nail on the head with it. I'm just upset that they used that time to make that point. It was the right point to make because they're right. You know, when you think about obviously what happened between, you know, Pac and Big and Jam Master Jay. Whenever a rapper is shot or there's a shooting around or violence around hip hop, that sucks out all the energy, you know. And so it's unfortunate that is what the mainstream media still highlights, even when Kendrick Lamar can win a Pulitzer Prize. Kendrick Lamar won a Pulitzer Prize for Damn. And, you know, that doesn't get half the publicity that a rap shooting or rap or hip hop related shooting or a violent event can garner. So we got to talk about. So when you talk about Burn Hollywood Burn, you know, the imagery, the continual perpetuation of violent imagery around Black men and boys is it has been self-destructive.
That song popped up in my head before you said that too.
Yeah.
Self-destruction. While you were
Self-destruction.
talking.
You know, another project that Chuck D and Flavor Flav were a part of. And we talked about, you know, the Million Man March. There's so many things to talk about because y'all bringing up things and making me think about. Remember, I was 19 and I was at the Million Man March, and I remember hearing somebody say that the police were planning to make an attack on the gangs. Like the police were gearing up to like really go hard against the gangs in like Chicago, in LA, in Houston, in Florida, or whatever. And they said that the Nation of Islam, Minister Farrakhan, wanted to call Black men together to stop the gang violence and gang culture. He said because there was intelligence going on that like there was going to be a real crackdown and a violent crackdown against gangs and particularly Black gangs in the cities. So,
but to your point, there was, because movies like Menace to Society and things were out. And a lot of movies along that line were kind of prepping the world so that there would not be an outcry if they were to move out against us in our communities that way. And so the climate was like built up to like a fever pitch. And then boom, you have the Million Man March. And
no violence. So, there was no violence, right. No incident. There wasn't a piece of garbage on the mall at the end of the day in 1995.
That was the whole purpose, to combat that, to show the rest of the world what was being perpetuated is not us. You know what I'm saying? So, and then Farrakhan went on his tours, you know, in those other countries, you know, getting allies and everything, you know. So people try
and we got to salute Spike Lee. I mean, because you talked about 911 as a joke being the first single on Fear of a Black Planet. I would say it was Fight the Power unofficially, because remember, Fight the Power was in Do the Right Thing.
And Do the Right Thing came out before
Fear of a Black Planet dropped. So I think Fight the Power finds its place in a lot of places in our culture, because it definitely took Do the Right Thing to a whole nother level. And like people wanted the song. So like you couldn't find it. Like you couldn't find the song.
They had the maxi single. They had the single though.
Yeah, but my point is they put the song on Fear of a Black Planet. And I think that is the key to why Fear of a Black Planet sold so well. And just wanted, a little behind the scenes thoughts.
Very good, very good.
Yeah, you have to wait all the way to the end too, the last song.
Right.
Yeah.
That was strategic.
Just in case y'all forgot why you came here.
Right. And speaking of Fight the Power, with the whole Bernie Sanders, the campaign, what were your thoughts on that as a delegate there, Mr. Tatum?
Well, I was I having conversations with Chuck D on a number of occasions about politics. Chuck he seemed a bit gun shy about getting into electoral politics. He was happy to talk about the issues facing the Black community, but as far as supporting candidates, I remember talking to and this is a true story. I remember talking to him about the Bernie Sanders campaign in 2015, and this was at the 20th anniversary of the Million Man March on the Mall. And I was Chuck D. We were all in like a little circle. It was Chuck D, Russell Simmons, Dr. Cornell West, myself. There were a few other sisters around too. And I wanted Chuck D to use his voice and political ingenuity to support Bernie Sanders then, but he wasn't sure. He said, we got behind Barack Obama, and he was pretty critical of Barack Obama and the policies that came out of the Obama White House that did not necessarily serve the Black community. So he and Diddy was around too, but Diddy was already like, I'm off this, because he felt like he got used, like the vote or die platform. He got Black people to vote, but we didn't see many Black policies. So I will say this: I'm answering this question with some background, that we're not as trusting of politicians because of the under-promising or over-promising and under-delivering. So for Chuck D to full-throatedly come out for Bernie Sanders with a show, with the publicity, I thought was a huge step forward for Chuck D personally as a political icon, hip hop icon, and activist. So I hope that there's more to come from that.
Mm-hmm. Definitely see that. Well, he has a book coming out titled "There's a Poison Going On," another album there. But he had this already in the works before all of this obviously was happening. But he's also a graphic artist, which I was not aware of. Did you know that?
He did the logo, right?
Yeah, he did. He designed the logo.
Yeah.
He had a lot to do with the artwork of the covers and the album.
And the cover of, and not necessarily putting, their faces on there, like how you were talking, True, about, all the braggadocio and all of that. But this was more, just the artistic thing, something that like they said rock and roll artists would do. This isn't your typical hip hop.
About that, like you said, you wouldn't really, if you weren't into hip hop, you wouldn't really know exactly because it looks like a sci-fi fantasy, because it has the Star Wars code, the Fear of a Black Planet lettering. It's like the Star Wars code. And you got like the Black Planet, which is like the enemy, looks like the Death Star coming around to hit Yavin in Star Wars A New Hope. So that could easily resonate. It speaks to the brilliance of Chuck D as an artist. You understand what I'm saying? Because Star Wars was like the biggest movie at the time. Came out in '77. So these who are like, 10, 12 when this album, subconsciously it reminds you of Star Wars.
And Star Wars was about the rebellion. It was a rebellion. When you understand the knowledge behind what Star Wars really was. That's right.
All right. Well, let's take a look at these images here for a quick second. I don't know if you have
Show us what you got.
I'll show you. So this is going back, I guess, like a month. I started in February, whatever. So he's just kind of giving this timeline of what we're seeing right now. And he was continuing. Let's see, go to the next one.
He's talking about the social distancing.
Yeah, he's talking about what's going on right now. So like in the midst of all that, while they were doing this latest album and him working on the book and everything. So this is, all of this is going on. So I don't know if that had to play in like, hey, we have to do something, in terms of the publicity. I mean, I think there still could have been something else that could have been more effective, but hey, it's over now. But yeah. So he's going to be coming out with a graphic novel. I don't know exactly what it will all entail, but it's a little something. What do you think about that?
I still got my Public Enemy comic books from the late 90s. Looks good. I'm a
I
big
think
fan.
it's amazing. Where can people find that?
I'm not certain that it is out yet.
Oh.
So just kind of check the bookstores, Amazon or what have you. But it doesn't, the article here didn't state when it was supposed to come out. So they, they dropped the album there. Like that's more the focus now. And then speaking of the new album, we can talk a little bit about that. Have you all listened to that? Check that out. What do you think about it?
Like you said, consistency, man. I listened to it a couple of times.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff out right now. Killer Army, Jay Electronica, Cam. So, but I definitely want to give it some more listens because the first single, the guy that Chuck D has on the album, Jahi, he's a real dope. He's a real dope MC. And it feels like Chuck is just like using his platform to propel that artist with Public Enemy Radio. But it's a pretty dope album. I want to give it a few more listens because it's pretty solid. It's just so much good stuff out, man. When people say hip hop is dead, I'm just like, what are you talking about, man? Because I stay listening to good music all the time,
Right. It's a ton of good hip hop to listen to and connect to, but it's knowledge. It's MCs that are really saying something that doesn't get radio play. That doesn't make the $1 million. Like Jay-Z said in the Moment of Clarity, he said, I had to dumb it down to double my dollars. So lyrically, I want to be like Talib Kweli.
Yeah. It's really rare that you hear artists that are allowed to have a certain type of to push a certain type of message and through mainstream music and things of that nature. They like you had just said about the Jay-Z reference, they do have to dumb it down or make it palatable to the general consumer. And you can't like necessarily push something along the vein of Dead Prez or what have you. But I wanted to mention over the records. I have to look at the titles. I'm so bad at titles, oddly enough. For the new Public Enemy record, like Born Woke, Same God, Lock Your Wheels. They're really in perfect form in this album. And just looking back on, classic records such as, Fear of a Black Planet being 30 years old, the fact that they're still knocking it out of the park with the same type of subject matter and the same level of execution is, wow. Impressive is an understatement. STD, oh, yes. Oh, yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah, Chuck is one for them play on words, man. He just look over the years of all the titles of their albums. Yeah. I'm like, they in themselves, say everything just by the titles, and they still serve as the anthems. Yeah, like we said, throughout.
Yeah, food as a machine gun is wildly topical right now. Just with all the news coming out about farmers running through crops and just produce falling, no longer being readily available, or just the impending meat shortages. And this album, it really landed where it was supposed to land.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, Chuck is consistently, and Public Enemy has consistently been relevant to the culture and to what is real in the community. And so it's the equivalent, Public Enemy is the equivalent to our CNN, to CNN.
Black CNN. Hip hop was like the Black CNN at one time.
Yeah. But Chuck has stayed true to that,
Mm-hmm.
So before we sell out, we get the hell out.
Some other titles were New World
New World Order.
Superman's Black in the Building.
Yes.
What else is there?
But you can play. I know you want to talk. You talk about the new album, but still, Fear of a Black Planet. You can play Fear of a Black Planet right now, and
Yeah,
it'd be
absolutely,
applicable
absolutely.
to today. You know. So
Definitely.
I got it playing in the black background, and it's B-side Wins Again is on the track.
Yo, Roy, you got this one?
Oh yeah.
That's good stuff right there.
So you're gonna make me go. You're gonna make me go into the archives now.
And then we didn't talk about. My apologies there.
Brought some of mine when Roy was talking about it takes a rapper to get killed to make noise. I think it's kind of sad that Chuck D and them had to stoop to that level to get some attention, because I think that was the first time ever Chuck D has, not that it matters, but Chuck D was trending on Twitter. First time that I recall.
The beef or what have you.
Yeah, he was trending on Twitter for a while. That's crazy. So that's what it takes for people to pay attention to Public Enemy. So I kind of get like the why, but the execution and everything, and as far as like the need.
Now, if I'm not
I
mistaken,
think it's a matter of what your ear is trained to. I think it's a matter of what your ear is trained to, like as far as mass consumption or something. Because at that time, that was what was considered popular music. Since it's not considered popular right now in 2020, it'll be harder for it to be heard, even though the message is above what we're used to. So I think it's a matter of being trained, or what you're accustomed to, what your taste is now.
Yeah, and to go back to 911 is a joke, like Rocky Tyree was talking about. It's hard for you to have that substance on the radio. I think that's what was so dope about that album. The 911 is a joke was on the radio in the daytime.
Yes, it was.
So I think
well, I don't know how many more albums does he have left in him. But he's out,
He always put it with a smile.
What did he do? He
Hey,
went.
look, if you born to do it, you born to do it. You ain't gonna stop until you on the ventilator.
his face said he gonna be rapping till he 80. Hey Rocky, how long you think you gonna be rapping, man?
Man, as long as I have a good vocal cords, as long as I have the air to breathe, I'm gonna keep doing it.
Les Paul was still playing the guitar and holding the wall ass clubs till the day he died. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, we're seeing it with this generation. The artists that came up right after your Public Enemies, and even Public Enemy, in themselves, like leading the charge from that generation standpoint, breaking those age barriers and things of that nature. Because it is like a culture that is youth centric, but that was only stated because it was such a young culture, and now it itself is evolving. So you have artists like Chuck D in their 60s, and your Jay-Z's in their 50s, and what have you. I mean, didn't Kool Herc just turn 65 like yesterday? So as long as I have the ability to make music, I'm going to continue to do that, and definitely the same can be said about a lot of these legends. I mean,
Bro, I got that Kumo.
If I can say, if you've not seen this, there's a God on the mic, the top 50 MCs. Like, I think young people too should get this. They got Chuck D ranked number 8, but at the same time, I just want to read the opening. And my man, the funny thing is, the hip hop, Chuck D's hip hop quote is from Black Steel in an Hour of Chaos. Every MC has their top line or top verse, and Chuck is Black Steel in an Hour of Chaos. But the opening sentence is, Chuck D is the greatest voice in hip hop history.
Agreed.
Period.
Probably the most sampled too. Think 10 Crack Commandments.
10 Crack Commandments.
And does anybody know what I think it was Reggie Jack's that Flavor Flav sample was used on, a very popular joint. Anybody know? To the beat, y'all, you keep on. No Future in Your Front, and MC
All right. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There was a quote. I did a show that was in tribute to Sun Ra, and they called him. They said that he is the missing link between Duke Ellington and Public Enemy. I thought it was interesting when they were I think it was the Washington Post that did an obituary, and that's how they described Sun Ra. So that kind of a lineage.
I went and grabbed the vibe book, the vibe history of hip hop, and just to put it in historic context. I think we got to continue to document this. This is our history. This is us. This is our life. This is, we lived through this. A lot of us were born into this. So we got to document this stuff just as much as you document Shakespeare or you document Hawthorne or Bach or Mozart. We got to document this history around this too. But let me just read this opening line because I think it's impactful. It said, Run DMC had more revolutionary impact on the way records were made. NWA spawned more imitators. The Death Row Bad Boy juggernaut sold more albums, but no act in the history of hip hop felt more important than Public Enemy. So
same thing. IT said Public Enemy is the most important hip hop group. We could talk best all day, but the most important hip hop group act would be Public Enemy.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah. Well, I don't know when they got 40 years they will be coming up. This is their 35th year. So see what'll happen in the 40th anniversary.
Absolutely.
And we didn't touch on I really like the soundtrack, the work that they did on the soundtrack. Spike Lee sticks working with, this is his same artist, but for the He Got Game film. They did the entire soundtrack. I thought that was great coming from a hip hop artist. It
was the first time KRS-One was on a Public Enemy album. They collab, of course, on Self-Destruction and the Kumo D Rise and Shine. But that was the first time a Wu-Tang member was on a Public Enemy record as well, Master Killer. That album was so good. 98, there was a gap between Music in Our Message. I think it came out in 94. There was a solo album, Mr. Chuck, but that was the first album and their last Def Jam album in 5 years. 98 was a good year. Big Pun, DMX.
Well, I want to thank everybody. Is there anything else you want to wrap up about this brief discussion that we had? From today that the album dropped, Fear of a Black Planet, April 10th. But yeah, I'm excited that they do have new work, so definitely.
I appreciate everybody sharing. Thank you for the insight and allowing me to share with you all some of the experiences down memory lane.
Yeah, well, I appreciate all of you. So,
but we got to document this.
We
got to document this. We got to create. We got to record this history, man.
Last thing I'll say is, like he said, this is our culture. Other mediums might not, highlight a 30th anniversary Public Enemy, but it's important. We got our own platforms. We got our own things that we could do. That we do that and document, like he said. Chuck E was one of the greatest highlights of my podcast doing True School Radio. You know, so gotta transcribe that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just before we check out, I just want to check in. So how is everyone doing amidst everything? How are you staying positive and productive in your communities?
Staying engaged.
Howard,
Oh, everybody, go ahead. Go ahead, sister. Go ahead.
Yeah, please.
So, yeah. So thank goodness that the quarantine didn't shut down Instagram or Facebook and then like that, so we could still do these things like Zoom and podcasting. And so I have been definitely getting inspired. I did tune in to like the Eric Bubbles contest, support local artists and their webcasts and stuff. I think it really, you know, brought a different level of creativity out. So I really appreciate, honestly, the quarantine because it's making us kind of like connect. I'm hearing from people I ain't really heard before on my timeline. They're reaching out and commenting. I'm like, well, okay, that's what's up. So I think we're becoming more social.
Anybody?
I found myself more busy. I mean, with people with this technology, you can have all kind of meetings, and so I've got to monitor my own schedule because I'm saying, yeah, I can jump on, yeah, I can be in there, and next thing you know, you sitting in front of a computer screen 5 or 6 hours, meeting after meeting. So, but it's good because it makes time go by faster, and you can, like my sister just said, you can have some conversations with different people that you probably haven't talked to before or in a while. So great to connect, and also we get a chance to just kind of keep some things moving, and people put people in the right perspective. You know, you're not in a rush to leave to go to the next meeting because you can't go anywhere. So I think people are more present in their conversations now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just been reading.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
I've just been reading, listening to music. One of the main things I'm doing right now is helping sell these books from Supreme Design online, man. And what's going on right now, there's a real important book called the Hood Health Handbook, volumes 1 and 2, that has literally been saving lives for close to 10 years now. So I'm just trying to get the word out about these books. So all these things that people are talking about, these natural remedies and, you know, how to build your immune system and whatnot, all that information is in these books. You understand what I'm saying? So if anybody's interested, get at me. I'll give you the website. You can buy whatever you want, get 10% off using my code True School. You know?
Go ahead and give them the website. All that. And I'll write it.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, it's supremedesignonline.com. I got books, you know, here, but you know, if you could wait, you could get it cheaper for online, because right now, because of the situation, they want people to read. They're giving free shipping. It's already 10% off everything on the website. If you use my code True School, you get an additional 10% off, so it's 20% off.
I'll make sure to post all that in the below, that they say. What about you, Rocky?
I actually, surprisingly, I'm a little bit busier, like you were saying earlier. I came into this year figuring that for some reason we're going to end up having to pivot, and I guess we are, just with the changing of the landscape and economic shifts and things of that nature. But, you know, like everyone's been saying, it gives you time to catch up the conversations that you should have had and, you know, look at things from a more holistic standpoint. Unfortunately, I had to scuttle a few tours and what have you. But with that came the opportunity to work on more music. So while we're all forced to sit indoors, it's the perfect time to be creative and, you know, tap into that energy. So just juggling different projects, servicing visuals like we were talking about earlier, and, you know, finding different ways to be physically active since I can't go to the gym. But yeah, true. If you can send me that information when we get off here, I'm definitely going to check that out.
Definitely. I remember when we came from New York, when we caught that plane from New York, Rocky, and you remember that book you read?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was insane. Yeah.
How the White Man Got Rich.
And then both of you, Ari Ryan and True, you also work with School of Hip Hop Phoenix, working with the youth with hip hop. So definitely being able to affect the next generation. But yeah, so looking forward to when you guys can get back and do things. And then Roy, I saw something, a post where you creating an online forum or group, or what was your intent with that?
Can you hear me? Did I? Oh, okay, I'm on. Just trying to have more conversations relevant to the community. We want to be able to talk about things like right now. Unfortunately, nationwide, there's been an upswing in domestic violence, and so we want to be able to have serious conversations that are impacting our households, whether it be because if there's domestic violence, there's probably also child abuse as well. So we want to make sure that we create platforms that people can, have an outlet. Nobody's been prepared for this. So being in one space, for days, weeks, maybe even at this point, maybe months on end, maybe people aren't processing that properly, and they're taking it out on their loved ones and those closest to them. So I'm just saying that we want to have some real conversation. I'm not saying that's all we're going to focus on, but we're going to have real conversations about real issues. There are people that have lost their jobs that need legitimate ways to earn income. So we want to talk about that. There are people that may have a little money and they want to know what to do with it. So we want to have experts talking about that. To me, this is a perfect time to also get politically engaged because for me, I've been able to talk to our state representatives, our Congress people, been in communication with one of the senators in their office, because right now they're trying to understand the impact on our community. As we understand, COVID-19 is killing Black people at a disproportionate rate. So even they are trying to understand how we can get more resources into our community. And so let me also say that I was alarmed at the misinformation that some people were actually willing to give, saying that like Black people could not be impacted or infected with the coronavirus. And I think that was a blatant attack. I don't know if these were even real people that were saying this in some of these groups. So we got to be careful about the misinformation war is real. There were people that coronavirus, they may have not taken the necessary precautions, could have gotten sick, and they may have lost their lives as a result of that. So we want to be able to talk about real issues with real resources. I promise you, anything that I post or put out there, I've researched it, I've looked it up. I'm not one of those people that just click on the headline and share it. I'm making sure that I'm putting out real, legitimate, tangible information for the community, because I know that people look to me for that. So I take a serious level of responsibility with the information that I disseminate.
I'm thinking, so they can just reach you at Roy Tatum Vanguard, is it, or how?
Yeah. Man, I probably need to cleanse my page. I've got the 5,000 max. So I'll probably do some page cleansing this weekend too. So anybody that wants to connect, send me a message, and I'll make sure that once I do my Facebook purge, I'll I'll add you.
All right. Well, we're going to close out with a video by Arian. We started out with a video with Rocky Tirade, and this is your video, Natural High. But before that, we got some stuff going on this weekend in terms of artists and live streams. So who's going to check out the Babyface and Teddy Riley?
Still going down?
Huh?
It's still going down?
It's tomorrow, the 18th, 9 p.m. Eastern time. So they rescheduled it because Babyface and his family had the coronavirus, so that's why it was canceled the first time. So I was just saying, you brought up your hip hop and R&B there, True. So I know you're gonna.
That's not a battle though, man. Like what Babyface gonna do? Play some ballads?
Well,
Teddy
he's wrote another.
Teddy Riley got Michael Jackson.
A lot of stuff. He has a lot of tracks, so it doesn't have to just be his stuff. So I don't know. All Bobby Brown.
My prerogative. That's Teddy Riley.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody. You have a wonderful evening and a great weekend, and look forward to seeing you, however that is, soon. All right. So here we go with Natural High.
New school, digital, crazy nice, lyrical, top notch material. Queen of the planet Earth, dope fly, spiritual, light piercing in the dark since I was an embryo. Giving sight to the blind, mic performing miracles. Mary Magdalene, the lost fit, rhyme biblical. Tribe called quest on that whole new scenario. Trying to run a circus here, they rhyme sound merry-go. Black is in the drought, hey, God is running to and fro. Looking for a sip of water, time for a rest flow. Looking for that new fire line, wire, here she go. Taking y'all to see the wiz, got the MJ glow. I stay killing them like an assassin, no payroll. What they know, books up like a can of soap glow. They smile in your face, but when they turn their back, they nose grow. No reason to trip, I lace my shoes and take the high road. No reason to quit, I'm going rock hard, out cold. Lyricist with I swag. Y'all don't hear me though, whenever I rip it, it's the greatest story ever told. And they say that Islam, J electronic flow. 1 2 1 2, mic check a 1 2 1 2. I'm on a natural high. A 1 2 1 2, a mic check a 1 2 1 2. I'm on a natural high.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hey, thank you for having us.